We started Child Haven because we felt it's important to have intercultural connections with people in other countries. Sometimes we get too insular and isolated in our own culture, and the world depends on people getting to know each other.
I think we wanted to start in that part of the world because of Mahatma Gandhi and his teachings of nonviolence and simple living.
We started in 1985. We had been doing other work before that, and Bonnie and I actually spent a year and a half in India in the late 70s. We became enamored of the country, and we wanted to see what we could do to help over there.
Oh, the first few years were very hand to mouth because we don't have any paid advertising and we were not known. So fortunately we had some good friends and family members who helped out a lot.
We made a lot of mistakes. We learned from making mistakes, and I think we're making fewer mistakes now, and things seem to be going quite well.
We have 5 homes in India, 1 each in Bangladesh, Nepal, and Tibet. So 8 children's homes, a women's project in India, and a Soya project in India.
Altogether, there are about 1,000 children that are in our 8 Child Haven homes.
The children who come to Child Haven are usually 6 and under, age 6 and under, because they're the most vulnerable, and the children must be destitute before they come. Sometimes they have 1 parent or even 2 parents, or no parents, and sometimes they are physically challenged or socially challenged.
They stay right through, just like a family. We don't kick them out at a certain age. They come to us age 6 or below, and they finish school at grade 10, where they graduate. Then we try to tailor-make a program for each one, consulting with them and with the managers on a vocational course of some kind, so that they can make a living and hopefully make some kind of contribution to the life of their own country.
We try to keep a connection with the parents if they have parents, and even if they don't have parents, often there can be a connection with grandparents or aunts and uncles. I think they like to think of Child Haven as their family, and the other children in the home as their cousin brothers and cousin sisters. Often they think of the manager or the caregivers as mother and father. So it's we try to have a family atmosphere.
When we got married in 1953, we had agreed that we would have a maximum of 2 children born to us, and if we needed more, if we wanted to have more, we would adopt 1 or 2. But she gets carried away, and it was 1 more and 1 more and 2 more and 1 more, and we wound up with 19 adopted children.
And 2 born to us.
And 2 born to us, and they are now all out on their own, and now we're enjoying our grandchildren.
Some have come to visit at Child Haven, and certainly when they were at home, there was a lot of newsletter stuffing and that sort of activity.
One of the things we're most proud of in terms of technology is a system which utilizes the human waste from the toilets, and it makes the human waste goes down into a tank, and there is there is a process by which it is converted into methane gas. Then that is sent to the kitchen through some kind of a pipe. In our Kaliampundi home, this methane gives almost half of the cooking fuel that is needed there, which is a huge help to us because the cooking fuel is very expensive.
Well, I think the soya cow also is a very important idea in which from soybeans, it's a high protein, low cost food, both for the milk and for tofu. And the mash can be used in various cooking products as well. And we've noticed a increase in the health of children when a soya cow has been installed in the home.
One of the main reasons that we went to India in the first place was that we both had studied about Mahatma Gandhi, and I had participated in a Gandhian demonstration in Selma, Alabama during the voting rights time, and Martin Luther King was there, and there was an impasse between the demonstrators and the police for a period of 5 days, and the whole thing was 100% Gandhian and nonviolent and very successful. Even President Lyndon Johnson seemed to have been converted and agreed to send to the Congress a voting rights bill. So we were enamored of this whole Gandhian idea, and we try, very imperfectly, it's true, but we try to run the homes along Gandhian lines of nonviolence and simple living, and boys and girls are equal.
No change of religion.
No change of religion, and vegetarianism. Well, we don't let anybody come in and try to convert the children to any particular religion. If a child comes from a Hindu family, then that child stays Hindu. And if we don't know the religion of the child, if it's a small child, then we just assume the religion of the village where the child came from. We try to celebrate all of the festivals so the children get a broad experience of the various festivals, but we try to maintain that they are what they were when they first came to us. One of the things we hope in terms of the future is that the children will each find a way to make their own contribution to the good of humankind, and I think that is starting to happen. There are quite a few children who are now in vocational training, and in very few cases there are some who are in university and have finished university and are in the helping professions, and we hope this will continue.
I think that the children are children, and they're not always as thoughtful as adults, but I do see that as they grow up, they become more and more interested in helping other family members at Child Haven.
The world sorely needs a sense of every human being is important, and you can't just leave out of your mind the suffering that takes place in Africa and places where there is poverty and disease. If that happens, I think the whole idea of 9/11, the way I look at 9/11 is that the Americans just have no concept of what the rest of the world is thinking about the policies of the United States, which are extremely violent. And the fact that people could have this white-hot anger at what some Americans are doing, and the rest of the Americans don't seem to know about this. So we hope that we've had about 600 people who've gone and stayed in our homes overseas for periods of 3 months or more, and they come back ambassadors of goodwill for the cultures that they are visiting and experiencing over there. And we think this is a very positive thing.
It's important for all of us to realize that whatever country we're in, we are brothers and sisters, and everyone is very similar to everyone else, and violence only creates violence. So war is not the answer.
Some of the children who come to us are orphaned, but there are some who come because the parents, for one reason or another, can't cope. For example, in Nepal, there was a couple who, both of whom were blind, and they could handle the children when they were little, but when the children got to be 4 or 5 years old, they couldn't handle them anymore, so they came to Child Haven. And in other cases, each child has an individual story. There are some children who lived with their mothers in prison in Nepal, and they couldn't go to school there, so while their mothers were in prison, sometimes it was possible for a child to come to Child Haven, and so that they were able to have schooling. And then later on, when their mothers were released, they were in contact again, and visiting took place. Once in a while, a child will go back to the family because the circumstances have changed. We had one case in Kaliampundi where a man who was a rickshaw driver, a bicycle rickshaw driver, and his wife, I don't know if she died or left him, but he had a 6-month-old baby. And the only way he could keep the baby was to take the baby with him on his bicycle rickshaw. And he had either have the baby under his arm, or if the passenger would hold the baby, so that wasn't working. So he brought the baby to Child Haven, and we kept this baby. Then later on, some months later, he found some extended family people who would be able to watch the baby, so we were happy that the baby was reunited with the family. There was one situation where a couple had died, and so 4 children, the siblings, all went to live with this holy man who lived by the river. He would go out begging for food or money to feed these 4 children. He kept them for at least a year, and then Child Haven was found, and we were able to take the 3 younger children, and they grew up at Child Haven, and the oldest one is Junu, and she is now studying to be a nurse, and the 2 younger ones are still at Child Haven and are coming along very well. There was a small orphanage up in Tibet. There were 8 children there, and it's difficult to get into Tibet, but she found that from Kathmandu, if you had a group of people, about 5 people or 6, you could get a group visa. So she went up to Lhasa and visited this orphanage. We knew a relative of the person in charge of the orphanage. So Child Haven is supporting that orphanage. There are now about how many?
There's about 24 in the orphanage, and we have about 40 children and several adults that we are supporting there. I will be going to the 4 countries, India, Nepal, Tibet, and Bangladesh, starting on November 13th and coming back December 23rd in time for Christmas. And I go to the homes 4 times a year because the children and the staff always have many, many questions and many issues perhaps that we discuss together. Also, I find that it is important to be able to verify that the money is being spent in the proper way.
So she's gone 6.5 weeks. She's home 6.5 weeks, mostly. So she's gone about half the time. And she just abandons me here. She leaves me here in the snow while she goes over there and has fun with the children over there.
That was absolutely fabulous. There were almost 400 people there. The committee cooked the food at the venue. They were cooking all day. It was very much a family atmosphere. That evening, everybody brought their children. I think everyone truly enjoyed the entire evening.
There was also a mix of cultures, a lot of people from the Indian community and a lot of people from ordinary Canadian community mixing together, and many of them came up and said that this was the 6th dinner that they had attended. It's an annual affair, and
several people, I think, have attended every single dinner that we've had here in Vancouver.
we have dinners in about 16 different locations across Canada. In all of them there is a mix of cultures. One dinner I made note of that when I was addressing the crowd, and I said, there are a lot of ethnic people here. How many of you are ethnics? And everyone raised their hand. They were all ethnics. So.
It's Child Haven. It's a book about Child Haven, and it has all these information pages and where they're located and what they do, and it's all about that. It's all the good stuff right in there.